So hello guys, yeah, very good afternoon. Hello guys and welcome in Agile Coaching Training. Today's day is 20 where we will discuss about Agile matrices and measurements. What kind of measurements are available in Agile, what kind of matrices are available in Agile and how we can use it. What is the benefit of each and every matrices in Agile and this is actually agile guidelines that these matrices are available. Whichever is applied or whichever is applicable for your project, you have to consider those matrices and you have to apply those matrices in your project. So we will start with our agenda. What exactly our today's agenda is? Okay, so here is the agenda. We have 6 points today. First point is how many types of matrices are available. Second is understanding outcome of matrices and NPS scores. Output matrix for velocity and predictability. Output matrix for cycle time and throughput rate. Measuring team's health and assigning agile maturity. So these are the points or these are the agendas for today's coaching session. We will start with our first agenda. How many types of matrices are available? So guys, there are actually three types of matrices available in Agile. First is a lean matrix, second is Kanban matrix, third is a Scrum matrix. Now these three matrices are frequently used in Agile while we are running. Now, what exactly lean matrices is doing? So, lean matrices is focusing on ensuring a flow of value from organization to its customer and eliminating wasteful activities. Common metrics include lead time and cycle time. Now, what is wasteful activities? So say for example, if my team is working on a particular requirement and to com complete that particular requirement, they need some sort of permissions from higher management or from some of a person, and these permissions are oftenly provided late, and this is the reason mostly team members work is delayed. If these permissions provided on a beginning level or if we remove this permission area, then maybe team can work very fastly. So this is called a wasteful activity. In lean matrices we are try to find out these wasteful activities, try to eliminate it as much as possible and make the process much faster, more faster. Now what is Kanban matrix? So Kanban matrix is focus on workflow, organizing and prioritizing work and getting it done. A common matrix is a cumulative flow. Now, Kanban matrix is something where without human interaction, we provided the entire workflow status or the entire project workflow status, so that if we shared a particular link or if we shared a Kanban board to our management, then management can easily get where exactly team is right now, how many things are in progress, how many things are blocker, or how many things are in done status right now. If something is blocker, then why those things are in blocker. So these entire information Kanban is provided. Simple example for Kanban board is if you guys are visited on railway station or on any uh, flight areas from where the flights are take off, any international or domestic airport, at that time you visualize there or you can view a board there which provide you the statuses like which train or which plane is going from where to where, what exactly the time, on which platform or on which gate that particular plane will boarding, and where you have to reach out. There is no human, but that board provided you the entire information: which plane is late, which train is late, which plane or train is cancelled. So you got the entire information on the board. So that is called a Kanban matrix. That is a best example for Kanban matrix. Now what is Scrum matrix? So Scrum matrix is basically focus on predictable delivery of working software to customer. Common metrics include a burn down chart and team velocity. And these burn down chart and team velocity provide the actual picture of their working culture, what exactly going on in that particular sprint, where exactly team is right now, how hard team is working, in which area team is working. Maybe that area is very tough or very hard technically, or maybe potentially, and how team is driving that particular sprint. So it provided this entire information. Now 10 types of matrices are available on screen, where first is agile burn down report. This specifically burn down report provide you a status of what exactly going on in project. Are we on track, are we off track, how many stories or cards are already completed, and how many are remaining. In agile velocity, basically we provide the information related to each and every working card or each and every working areas. We have provided some sort of number to those particular working areas. Say for example, if my team is working on one of a critical card where work is very less, but to complete that work they have to do more analysis, more research and development, and then they are able to complete it. So this is the reason maybe team members has provided the story point for that particular card is either 8 or 13 or 16, like that. So uh, based on these velocities, based on these story points, we calculate the team velocity, agile velocity in each and every sprint, and we provide this velocity chart to our management. Guys, keep one thing note here, that your every sprint velocity will never came same. It may be fluctuated, sometime it maybe goes on high, sometime it maybe goes on low, but this is a velocity, and you cannot judge based on the velocity report that your team is working very hard or your team is losing the hardness in their work. Your team is always working very hard. It's depend upon the cards, it's depend upon the work area. Based on that, these velocities comes out. So this is the reason velocity is just a matrix to calculate the working flow. This is not a judgment of your team's work, or this is not a judgment of what exactly they are doing. Epic and release burn down. Okay, so in epic and release burn down, basically what we are doing, uh, we are basically use we are basically try to find out how many epics are completed in release burn down, how many are remains, and what exactly the timeline for rest of the epics, when these epics will complete. Control chart, cumulative flow diagrams, lead times, value delivered, release net promoter scores, or failed deployments, escape defects. These all are matrices, guys, and these matrices are dependent, like if required you can apply it in your scrum or in your agile. If you think it is not required in my agile, it's completely your option, it's completely your call. Now if I am saying understanding the outcome of matrix and its NPS score. So how to measure it? So first, if I am talking about the NPS score, what exactly the NPS? So NPS means net promoter score. Now why you should be track the net promoter score? So basically net promoter score is a calculator which calculate and understanding a specific score of your project. Benefits of NPS is this is very efficient about the cost effectiveness. This is easy to create and more likely to engage the customers. In using this matrices, you can easily communicate with your customer, and you can convince your customers, or you can communicate with your customer regarding the work, what exactly you are doing or what exactly your team is doing, and how that work is critical or easy, what exactly the identified or unidentified risks they required to measure, and based on that they have to work. So these all the things comes in second area. Third area is increasing viral growth by referral. So slowly, say for example, if I am giving an example about a small baby, first the baby comes in the world, then after 1 year maybe the baby started something, some sort of words to talk. Slowly the baby started walking, then running, then started speaking very fluently. So likewise, so this is the baby growth. Same with your agile point of view also. When you are starting agile practice on any particular project, at that time you have to start it with smaller area of work or simpler tickets or simpler cards on the beginning basis, on the initial basis, and then slowly you have to grab a big tickets, a big cards or a critical cards, and this way slowly you are progressing in your agile way. At same time you are providing a good success rate at the end of every sprint. Even when you are providing a sustainable result to your customer will also be happy. Customer doesn't matter after giving the requirement, those requirements are critical or simple. Finally customer wants those all requirements in a demo, and those all requirements should be reflect in their production area. This is our job to find out which requirement is easy, which requirement is critical. If requirements are critical, then how critical it is and how I can improve it. So we have to find out those things. Improving upsells, and finally increasing loyalty by increasing customer satisfaction. So if you are giving continuously success rate to your customer, uh, and even in my previous few sessions I already provided how to represent your demo in front of customer. So if you are representing your demo like that, then slowly you will got the loyalty and customer satisfaction, and based on this maybe customer will provide you either more requirement or more business. Now how can I improve my NPS? So first thing is technical issue. You have to find out what kind of technical issues you guys are facing while you are dealing with the requirements. You have to find out the solution for that. In this again there are some sort of low response rate or leading questions. These things are appear in picture. You have to deal with those all the things. Experience issues, few issues are there which you already experience in your past, or maybe in some sort of previous projects or previous working areas, so you know how to deal with that. So you have to apply those solutions, or you have to modify slightly in the solution, and you can easily apply it. So this is a second area where you are visiting the experience issues. By this way guys, you can easily communicate, or you can easily identify the working area, and you can easily work with that. Now next is sprint burn down and sprint velocity. So if you see here guys, on first day maybe my work is remain too high. Say for example, when I'm starting at that time my stories are here, and slowly when I'm starting my work at that time, one by one story is completed and this lines comes down. By this way this particular burn down chart is created, where it shows how many stories are remain, how many stories are completed, and when we will complete the entire sprint. If these bars goes above these lines, then we are working off track. If these bars comes below this line, then we are running under time. We are uh, on below track. So by this way, but guys, practically I never seen this situation that we always touching this particular line. This is an ideal line which shows we are off track or we are on track, and based on this there are some sort of plus minus happens every time in every sprint with every team. And sometime we are off track, sometime we are on track, sometime we are below track. So likewise our sprint is going on, and we have to uh, measure our sprint how it's going on. This particular chart is called in the middle of sprint, at the end of sprint, or you can watch on this particular burn down chart from the beginning of your sprint also. So this is basically a burn down chart or a velocity chart which provide you a exact status where team or work is which is running in your sprint is on track or off track. Now this is sprint velocity. If you see guys here, the sprint velocity is not similar. Sometimes it's very low, sometimes it's very high, but this is not provided any sort of status of your team members working area or their hard work. This is based on what kind of stories or what kind of cards they had selected in that particular sprint, and how they completed those cards and those stories in that particular sprint. Sometimes it happens that out of 5 cards, maybe 3 cards are completed, 2 cards are in slippages, which I am continuing in my next sprint. And this is the reason this is some sort of additional burden in my next sprint. But if I completed it in my next sprint, maybe my chart will goes like this, because I am additionally pulling some card from my last sprint. That's the reason this chart is showing this much result. Maybe it also happens reversely, that the team has completed their work before time and they pull some sort of work from next sprint, and this is the reason this chart goes on higher level. Or maybe if something is in slippages, then maybe the chart is look like this. But there are justifiable reasons available for every areas, and based on those justifiable reasons, we can easily communicate with management why the velocity is look like this. So this is basically related to sprint velocity. Now third one is basically lead time. So how to calculate lead time? So lead time measure the total time from the moment of story entered in the system. Now entered in the system means it entered into the backlog until it completed as a part of sprint and released to customer in their production environment. It measure the total time for requirement to be realized and start earning value, the speed of your value chain. So if you see here, it is starting from here, task created here, it completed here, but the start actually started working from this area. So work started and work completed, this is a cycle time. And lead time means the task started or task entered in your backlog till completed into the sprint. So that is called a lead time. So this is basically a very simple matrices. You can provide this matrices to your management and your client also. Again, here are justifiable reason why we have started that particular task very late or very early, based on client's communication and based on client's decisions. We mostly move the task and we mostly move their starting area from here to there. So these are the lead time area. Now next one is cycle time. If I am saying cycle time, then cycle time is something like that. All the illustrations of cycle time is subset of lead time. It measure the time for a task to go from start or in progress or in done. Normally cycle time should be around half the sprint length. If cycle times are longer than a sprint, then team are not completing the work they are committed to. Every sprint have some sort of target. Say for example, if I am selecting 5 stories in my sprint, then my goal should be I have to complete those all 5 stories in that particular time frame in that particular sprint, and then I will provide the demo. So this may be a goal, but if your few stories or few cards goes in slippage, then somewhere you are not able to committed or you are not able to obey your goal. But there are some sort of justifiable answers available, some sort of delayed, some sort of unidentified risk, and so on. So likewise, code coverage is again one of a matrix. This is a sub matrix. If you required, you can apply it. Why code coverage is because code coverage can be run automatically as part of every build and gives a crude picture showing how much of codable has been tested. And low code coverage almost always indicate low code quality. However, high coverage may not equally high quality, because there are other types of tests also, such as UI testing or integration testing and so on. So this is a code coverage area. Static and code analysis is also there. Release net promoter score is also there. So these are basically some sort of scores. Net promoter scores is basically powerful when the ultimate test of agile development is providing a value to a customer. If customer are recommending this new release to others, that is clear indication to success. If not, you can use this as a warning matrix and use other data to understand what's going wrong. So if you see here in this particular matrix, from 0 to 10, we have a distractor till 6th of level, then we have a passive level from 7 and 8, and we have promoters level in 9 and 10. Now you have to find out the percentage like promoters minus distractors, and you can get the net protector score here. So this is very easy. Again, uh, if you required, you can apply it. Agile never forced it, but this is one of a matrix which provide you a net promoter score. If you want a smart work, then you can utilize this particular area. Next is cumulative flow diagram. Now, why cumulative flow diagram? So this is basically a Kanban matrix which show the status of task in sprint. If you see here, every status is displayed in different color. So basically in sprint or in release or in across software team, it can be visualized the bottleneck in the process. Uh, Again, large number of tasks in any of workflow stages indicates a problem. For example, big bubble in the use of chart or verification or testing or stage indicates that stages has influent in resources. Now, why it is powerful? It is powerful because with the burn down chart, the power of this matrix is in its visual simplicity. You can grasp a process in 1 gallons and immediately identify the issue. Cumulative flow let you catch a problem in mid process before they result in delayed delivery. So this is the reason this cumulative flow diagram is designed, or you can pull it even using Jira. You can pull this report from your project after your sprint or after you done a particular cycle, and this provided you a exact picture of your project. Again, here no human intention or human intervention is required, because all the things are already provided in the chart. If you are sending it to the management, management is capable enough to easily understand what exactly going on in your project, where exactly your team is right now, how many things are in blocking, how many things are in realization, how many things are in verification, how many things are in done, and how many things are in WIP, work in progress area. With this you can provide failed deployments, again escape defects. So likewise, failed deployments means something which is delayed or in slippages. Escape defects means you have to find out those bugs or those issues which are not finded or not able to found in your entire time frame, and those issues found after the deployment or after the demo. So you can find out those escape defect matrix also. But this is again not forcing by agile. If you require, you can apply it to provide more and more quality work to your uh, client. Now there are some missing matrix also, in which test gap analysis or quality trend intelligence or release quality analysis, these are some sort of matrices which you can use for missing matrix or missing something in your working areas. Now we will move to our next areas. So velocity and predictability. So basically how you can find out the velocity. Say for example, in first sprint there are only 3 user stories. Every user story have a 8 story point. So 8 into 3 is equal to 24. So this is 24 is my velocity for first sprint. But in second sprint I am working with 4 user stories, where every story have 8 story point and the count is 32. But here the velocity is not 32 for second sprint, because I am completed my second sprint. So right now I am calculating the average. So 24 plus 32 divided by 2. So that is my velocity for second sprint. Same for third sprint also. Third sprint velocity is 96 divided by 3. So 32 is my velocity. So this is basically a velocity formula, guys. Whichever sprint you have done, the story point of those particular sprint divided by how many sprint you have completed. So that will be the output which comes after this formula. That will be the velocity of your latest sprint. So by this way velocity is calculated, and this is the reason velocity never comes same every time. The velocity is either go high or up or on a middle level. Now this is a velocity chart. If you see here, by sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, commitment is this much completed with this much, and we are calculating velocity based on only completed area, only delivered area. Say for example, out of 5, if I have completed 3 stories in my first sprint, then I am considering those 3 stories only for my velocity. In second sprint, out of 6 stories, if I am completed only 4 stories, then I may be provided only 4 stories value as in a velocity. I am considering only those 4 stories which are ready to ship in production environment, which demo is completed in demo session. So likewise you can calculate your velocity, guys. This is a predictability matrix for agile. You can find out your sprint burn down chart. You can even predict your burn down chart for almost 1 quarter or 2 quarter based on your current running speed. Say for, but this is only a prediction, and I'm not saying that your prediction will always come true. It may happens that there are some sort of plus minus will happen, or maybe in the middle, if client made some changes in their requirement or provided some sort of urgent requirement, then maybe this flow will change. But you can easily predict about your 1 quarter area or 2 quarters area of work, how you are working or how your agile will deliver. the final deliveries. Now, next is team health. So guys, while team is working in your project, at that time team is also like a asset for your project. Like client's requirement, your team is also asset. Now there are 12 very easy steps for their happiness. If your team is happy, if your team is working in a joy or in a happiness, or maybe with the enthusiastic work, then maybe they can provide more and more quality work, they can provide more and more good idea for improvement, they can make your process more and more faster, because these guys are working daily on very hard basis, and based on that these guys are provided a final result. Now what exactly these 12 steps? So first is thank. If somebody from your team has done a very good job, then you have to appreciate it, you have to provide those appreciation in front of team members. If somebody is making mistake, then you have to communicate with that person on one-on-one level, and you should not communicate those mistake in front of team members. You have to always communicate in one-on-one session, and you have to provide them a solution so that such kind of mistakes will never appear or never repeat in going forward. Second is experience. Always in every team, few team members are experienced, few team members doesn't have that much experience. So experienced team members, if provided their experiences or their guidelines to unexperienced peoples, it's easy for unexperienced people to complete their job within a time frame, and we call this phenomenon as a teamwork. So if your team is working in teamwork, it's really good thing. If they are not working in teamwork, then it's a job of agile coach or scrum master that they have to communicate with team members and guide them, coach them, and try to make them so that they can work in a team manner. Now third is give something to another person to make it possible for others to offer gifts. Say gift is not like you are providing some sort of money or some sort of expensive gift. No, you can provide a chance to your team members. Say for example, if there are some sort of junior members are available in your team, you and those junior team members provided a good idea, then sometime you can provide them a lead activity. This may be a gift for them, maybe for 1 or 2 days, maybe for one sprint, maybe for two sprint. You can provide them as a lead activity that you have to lead on this area, because your ideas are good and this is impressive, it's help us. So you can provide them a gift like this way. You can provide a hike also. Now hike in terms of you can provide them a good job while you are working in your sprint. Say for example, if my team members are working on same area in every sprint, then you have to provide them some sort of different work also. You can exchange the work from one person to another person, and by this way you can provide them uh, to progress themselves, to make themselves sharp in their career growth, in terms of technical growth, so that in future if something happens or if some critical work appear in your sprint, then these guys can easily absorb that work and easily complete that work. Help in entire sprint, every team members required help. Maybe sometime help required from scrum master, maybe sometime the help required from product owners. So these help should be available on the behalf of team members. Maybe scrum master can took a follow for impediments, or took a follow for some sort of permissions or assignments with management. If they are facing some sort of blockers, then scrum master should provide them a help to remove those kind of blockers. So this kind of help should be easily available in your team. Meditate, you have to provide your team members learning curve and adopting mindfulness in practice. Now uh, Learn and adopting mindfulness means what? So if they required some sort of training or some sort of knowledge, then those knowledge sharing activities should be there in your sprint. You have to provide some sort of time for this area. If this area is really required for particular person, then you can provide these trainings or these activities to that particular person. You can arrange it for your team members. Eat well. This has seen with a lot of many teams that when team is working on a particular requirement, sometimes teams are forget to take their lunch and their coffees also. You have to ask them, or you have to provide that much flexibility to your team members so that they can peacefully enjoy their breaks in a day. For lunch break or coffee break, they can have at least some sort of meaningful discussion in a team. You can arrange such kind of discussion for 10-15 minutes or 30 minutes and get your team refresh, and then again start work on your particular areas, so that team will boost themselves, team will refresh themselves, and team will again come back on work and complete their work very easily. Socialization, exercise, aim, rest, smile, these are also some sort of steps for their happiness. You have to take care for them, and you have to provide these areas also to your team members, so that your team members can easily adopt these things and work in your team while running any sprint or any agile portion. When you are following these all 12 steps, at that time in retrospective, you will find very less negative comment, maximum positive comments, and very less action items for your team members. If there are action item, if there are some negative items are available in your retrospective, maybe those will available for either improvement in process, or either how to make your process more faster, more easy, and more smarter. So likewise, these guys can provide the work, or these guys can provide the comments in your retrospectives. Now, next session is agile maturity. So there are 5 levels of agile maturity available in agile. First level is ad hoc agile. So when we are just started our agile from any traditional method to agile, at that time we are practicing maximum traditionally and very less agile, and we called it as a mix agile kind of things, or a hybrid agile kind of thing. Actually hybrid agile is not available in word, but we are practicing like that. Here we are not using complete agile and not using complete traditional. We are trying to find out a middle way, and almost 0 to 80% of team members are following these things. This is somewhat risky, because when you are following such kind of tracks or such kind of activities, at that time you never get the agile benefits, you never get the traditional benefit, and even you never get the quality work. Most of agile fails because teams are working in ad hoc agile, and this is the reason agile cycle or agile processes are fail in team. Second level is doing agile. So doing agile means what? We have 12 principles in agile which are provided by agile. We try to follow all those principles, but agile never force you to follow those all 12 principles. Those are guidelines basically, so that you can work very easily in your day-to-day life. These guidelines are help you, these guidelines are support you to make a decision, to create a solution, and to make your life more easy. But what we are doing, we are just following the guidelines blindly. We are starting our agile in a ad hoc level, in a doing agile level, and we are making it habit consistently. We are consistently across a team is still variable. So sometime team is sharing knowledge, sometime team is not sharing knowledge, sometime team is working with agile tools, practicing with agile tools. Some team members are working with tools. Some team members are not provided their updates in tool because they says we do not have this practice, or we do not have this ability in past, so we forgot most of the time, and this is the reason these delays are happen. So this is doing agile something. This is not exactly the agile. Third level is being agile. Now, what is being agile and doing agile? So, doing agile means we are following all the principles, all the guidelines as in a rule. In being agile, we understand these are not rules, these are basically guidelines, these are basically principles, and where we have to use it and where we can use it as an optional. So this is third level where being agile is applicable. In lean portfolio management, mostly being agile is available where mature team members are available. They know basically the characteristics of agile and its behavior. They apply it in their day-to-day life. They systematically start their agile workflow, their agile journey. They know why the ceremonies are important. They know why the agile tools are important, why we have to provide the updates on daily basis, why the reports which we call from agile are important, and how those reports will create in the particular tool, on what basis those particular reports are created, and if we require the accurate report, then what should we do. So these guys knows these things, and this is we called as a being agile. After that, thinking agile is a fourth level. Thinking agile means when the requirement comes in particular backlog, at that time not only team members but even scrum master and product owner started thinking from agile point of view, like how I can fit it in my sprint, or how I can fit it in my agile process. If that particular requirement is too big, then who will break that particular requirement? How can I provide more and more details for that particular requirement, so that my team members can easily understand it, and my team members can easily provide me the exact calculation, how much time they require to complete that particular things, how much work they have to apply on that particular requirement. Is it critical, is it easy, is it hard, or is it something challenging? So they have to identify those all the things. Are my team members that much mature that they can break it in a smaller chunks, and they can adopt those chunks in each and every sprint and complete smaller part of big requirement, and finally maybe in 1 quarter or 2 quarter they complete the entire epic. So is my team is capable for that? If your team is capable, then you are working in fourth level, thinking agile. Fifth level is culturally agile. So we are completely adopted agile. We are not only working in agile, but even we are discussing, we are making our communication agile ways. We know the value of time, how much time we have to put in every area. Say for example, if I want to discuss something, within how much time I have to complete my discussion. So I know those things, and based on this area I have to find out only those questions which are really important, and which will gives me more and more input, so that I can work easily. So within fewer question I can get more and more information, and based on that information I can start my work, I can complete my work. If I required any sort of permissions, or if I required any sort of authentications, so I have to uh, raise it before starting my work. And when I'm raising it, when I'm thinking about my third sprint, I'm right now in first sprint, but when I'm thinking about my third sprint, I know in which area I have to work in my third sprint, where I required permissions. So I am raising those all permission requests in my first sprint, and till I'm reaching my third sprint, I got all the permissions, I got all the authentications, and in third sprint, I need not require to wait for any permission, need not require to wait for any authentication. I can easily work, I can easily complete my work. So this is something where I am doing pre-calculations. This is something where I am working on my pre-areas, and based on these areas, I am trying to fulfill or trying to complete those all aspects which I may face in future. And this is a actual maturity level of your team members when you reach in fifth level, which we call as a culturally agile. So by this way you can work, and when you are working this way, at that time your team, your scrum master, your product owner is working very smartly. They always trying to focus on time level, they always try to reduce the meeting time, the wastage time, and they utilize those on time, those all time in technical level. They invested those all time in technical level so that team can work more and more technically and provide more and more technical jobs, quality jobs at the end of sprint. So that is called fifth cultural level. So this is it, guys. Now if you have any queries, any questions, you can ask me. Anyone have any query, any question? Okay.
Hello, Dennis speaking.
Hi Dennis. Yeah.
Can you provide us this PDF document?
I am creating a video. This video will available mostly today midnight on YAM. If you find out agile coaching training, then you can find my all previous videos also, and you will find this latest video also there.
Okay, Agile Coaching on Yam, all right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
yeah.
Could you please go to the last slide?
Okay. Uh, I can't move back because this is I am recording using. Uh,
Okay.
but you can ask me the question. I'll answer it.
Yeah, below the slide of agile stages, in the most lowest row, there were some numbers, and I did not catch it, what the meaning of those numbers was.
Uh, you are talking about agile maturity levels.
Yeah.
Okay, those numbers. Okay, when you are driving your agile from one team, so or for from one project, based on the success of that particular project, more and more projects are attached to agile in your organization, and those below numbers are available count of team members. So slowly when you got a success, at that time new projects and new team will attach to you or attach to your agile coach, that you are doing very well in that particular project, and we also are interested to work in agile. So that particular agile coach applied agile with that particular team also. I'm giving a simple example. In one organization, there are 5 projects are running. Under every project, there are 10 teams are working. As an agile coach, I'm working with project one, providing a success, which is a ad hoc agile to till culturally agile. Now, when I'm running my agile show with project 1, at that time project 2, project 3, project 4 and project 5, these are also looking my success, these are also monitoring my success. These guys are facing some sort of issues, and in a casual discussion these guys came to know that such issues project 1 never face because they are running agile. Now slowly every project approaches to me and asks me that we also want to drive through agile, and by this way when second project is attached to agile coach, third project is attached to Agile Coach, at that time team member count is increases, and that team member count is displayed at the bottom. 0 to 80 for level 1, 81 to 160 for level 2, 161 to 240 for level 3, 241 to 320 for level 4, and 321 to rest of team members for level 5. But to calculate or to come to this maturity, we required some sort of time. This is not a overnight job. We have to invest some sort of time for that, and when time passes, when your success is coming out from your team members, even clients started appreciating in bigger meetings, and clients started talking about your team members. At that time this success comes into the picture, and slowly rest of the team members are started communicating with you, started joining you. I hope I have provided the answer of your question.
To be honest, I did not really understand it. At the very beginning, level 1.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm leading maybe 10 teams, including 8 full-time employees, and we are reaching the number of 80, then I reach level 1 of Agile.
Yeah. So I am giving more simpler. You are working with the organization which haven't applied Agile yet before. Now from your team, organization want to start Agile. So organization asks you, or management asks you to start Agile from your team and provide us a success result. Now you are the first person, or your team is the first team from which Agile is started implementation in your organization. So we will call you on first level, ad hoc Agile level, because you are transforming from traditional to Agile. So you are on first level. Now when you are getting a success slowly, at that time you are crossing from level 1 to level 5, and based on your success, rest of the teams of your organization started approaching you that we are facing so and so issues, but we saw in Agile your team is not facing that issue. Say for example, communication delays, dependencies, or risk, or these many issues your team never faced, because you guys are applied Agile. So what kind of Agile you guys has applied, and what is this process is, we also want to apply this process with our team. So when such kind of teams connected with you with such kind of thinking, at that time slowly the growth of Agile is going on bigger level. Currently you are working with one team, slowly you are started working with two teams, three teams, five teams, 10 teams, with two projects, three projects, and so on. And by this way, when the count goes increase, which comes under Agile, those count displayed at the bottom level. On level first, maybe very few peoples are there. On level 2, maybe more peoples are joined to your Agile workflow area or your Agile journey. In level 3, maybe more team members are joined, or more teams are joined to you and started Agile flow. So by this way you can calculate the headcount. Yeah.
I still have a question connected with this. What if we are a small organization, not Deutsche Telekom, but company that has only 75 people
Oh.
altogether?
Mhm.
In this way, we can never be culturally agile.
Okay. Agile says team size should be 6 to 9. If I'm considering 10 members in your teams, so still you have 7 teams. And if you started Agile with one team, maybe we can consider 10 members in your team. Based on their performance, rest 6 teams will slowly attach you, and they will started asking you that we also want to apply Agile in our project, so that whatever issues till date we faced issues I already discussed. So those issues we can eliminate from our process, and we also want to provide more and more quality works to our customer and get not only satisfaction but appreciation also from customer side. So when you are started with first 10 members team and your success comes into the picture, after that maybe rest of 6 teams started approaching you, but that is slowly, maybe one team started approaching, then maybe 2 teams started approaching, and slowly entire organization will started working in agile. But if you want to reach on that level, you required some sort of time, maybe I'm saying 3 months to 6 months downline.
So I would say that we could replace the 0 to 80, 81 to 160.
Don't consider that. that that is just an example. Yeah, that is just an example. That's not a real figure. That is just an example, so don't consider that.
We could have there like 10% of organization, 20%, 30%. That would be
It's again
you
based.
know.
Yeah, it's again general, and it's again based on how much capacity your agile coach have, how many solutions or how many um, smart way your agile coach will provide to your team members. Based on that, maybe your process and your progress will go faster.
Questions from my side, Danny speaking. And as a Scrum Master, I am interested to increase the team velocity, and I would like to understand how to play with the team capacity to speed up iteratively. And is there a metrics helps to understand the velocity of a particular team member? For just an example, how many user stories done by each sprint by, for example, each team member or particular team member? Is there some metrics?
Actually, agile never have such kind of metrics where you can find out which team member have done how much work. But yeah, for entire team you can calculate the velocity based on story points. Now again here, uh, if I'm saying a capacity, so I already provided this calculation in my previous few session. If you visited on YAM, you will find out. But here I'm orally tell you. Say for example, in my team, 10 members are working. So 10 members working 8 hours per day. If I am saying 2 week sprint, so 10 days. So 10 members into 8 hours is 18 hours per day. 18 hours into 10 days, so 800 days, 800 hours are there. Now apart from 800 hours, I am removing 25% time for meetings, because there are some sort of ad hoc meetings, some sort of invites which is predefined, some sort of undefined invites, like uh, some sort of discussions are there, or some sort of delayed are there, or they require to discuss some sort of progress with other team members. If your team is sitting geographical area, then it's very important that they have to discuss it in meeting only. If your team is sitting under one roof, still they have to invest some sort of time for their discussions. So 25% area is there. 10 to 15% area of entire time zone I am removing for unidentified risk and unidentified delayed. Say for example, team members are not available, somewhere the help is not available, some sort of technical glitches are there, some sort of misunderstanding about the requirement, and now I'm correcting myself or team is correcting themselves from requirement point of view. So for all these areas, we are removing 10 to 50% of time, 15% of time from entire time zone, and rest of the time is the team capacity. Now if I'm talking about rest of the capacity, say for example maybe 600 hours we have out of 800 hours, so 600 hours are technically available for team. Now I have 10 team members, So I am dividing 600 divided by 10. So 6 hours daily my team will work technically uh, per day in my entire sprint. Now again, this is not the exact figure. This may goes on plus minus situation. Maybe somewhere some team members work more than 6 hours, maybe some team members work less than 6 hours. They have justifiable answer for those all the areas because of some sort of delayed, because of some sort of meetings and other areas. Based on this capacity, I am designing my sprint, and I am allow my team members to allocate the task themselves for 6 hours per day, so that they can easily work in the entire sprint and provide a final shippable product at the end of sprint. If my team member is taking overburden or selecting more jobs in sprint planning, then I am a person as a scrum master or as an agile coach. I am a person who can coach them and who can provide them why they are not able to took more jobs in their plate, because their team, their capacity is only that much and they have to accept only that much work. If they completed that particular work before time, they can pull the work from next sprint, which is fine. But if due to some reason they are not able to complete the work, then that particular work goes in slippage and it's an additional burden in our next sprint. So by this way, I can communicate with them, I can provide them a guidance, and based on this guidance, my team member identify their capacity, and based on their capacity, they adopt the word and they took the work in their plates. More details are available in my previous sessions also. If you go on Yam pages and you can find agile coach training, then you will find the videos there.
Okay, and just try to understand, well, if the customers wants to achieve the more than, for example, team's velocity we have for the moment, then how we can, how to say, how we can, for example, understand how we can, for example, manage it or handle it inside of the team, because we have particular user stories which we can do in this sprint that we have just, I don't know,
Okay.
decrease the meetings, but it will not help us to achieve the, for example, optimize approach to this sprint.
Yeah, it's possible. There are few options. Say for example, if your client wants more velocity, then you can try to avoid more meetings. You have to provide only identical meetings and only identical team members are apply for those particular meetings. Rest of team members can apply their entire work in technical work. This is the first option. Second option, maybe if your team has completed the work before time, then your team can pull the work from next sprint. When you are pulling a work from next sprint, at that time you consider that work for next sprint. You haven't identified that particular work in your current sprint, but if that particular work completed in current sprint, then you can add that particular work's story point or velocity in current sprint. By this way, if say for example my current sprint velocity, identical velocity is 40 story point, but because my team has completed work before time and they pull some work from next sprint, so my current velocity is rather than 40, it goes on 55 or 60 story point. So by this way you can increase your velocity and you can provide this report to your client management. But this will happen sometime, not every time. You cannot expect these things every time. If you are expecting these things every time, then you are pushing these things on your team members. Somewhere it create a pressure on your team, and somewhere it just neglecting a 12 principles which agile has provided. You are bypassing those 12 principles, and this is a reason sometime it possible, sometime it's not possible. Yeah. Any other queries? Any other question? Anyone? No? Okay. Then guys, tomorrow we will talk about the agile transformation from waterfall to agile, from QC agile to agile, how we have to transform it, what kind of issues we face, and how to deal with those issues. So I will provide this entire information to all of you. Please don't miss tomorrow's session. Till the time, guys, have a nice day and please stay safe.